Good morning, everyone. Hello, I'm Jennifer Reed. I'm the director of BSU Senior College. It's Tuesday, February 15th. Thank you so much for being here for this event today with the Alzheimers Association of Massachusetts and New Hampshire. Welcome to our partners with that organization. They've been such good friends to us in offering these programs that are free and open to the public. If this is your first time with us at Senior College, we do a couple of things. One is these events that are free and open to the public, and we hope that it's just a way for us to spread information and education to a larger audience. And then, of course, we have the Senior College, which is a membership-based organization where we offer courses that are for non-credit. So they're just for enrichment, they're for fun, they're for learning for the sake of learning, and also to increase socialization, especially during this time over the last couple of years when all of us have been isolated from our friends and family. This semester we have about 30 courses, and we're really happy to say that we have over 30 courses. Many of them are on Zoom, and we have about 10 that are offered in person. So we're trying to build back a situation where we can actually meet each other in person, but we will continue to always offer our online classes because those have been super popular. They're very convenient. They're right here on Zoom. So if you can do this event, you can do Senior College. And the in-person classes take place at the Bridgewater Public Library, the Bridgewater Senior Center, the Center for Active Living in Plymouth, and BSU Attleboro, which is our campus over in the city of Attleboro. So if you haven't had a chance to check us out, please do so. I will put, after I'm done speaking, I'll put some information in the chat. I'll put our course catalog, I'll put our email and all that fun stuff. And the other thing that just sort of aligns with why we're here today is that, you know, research and scientific evidence shows that lifelong learning can improve our healthy aging and our brain health. So it's a great way to stay connected and to learn and be curious. And we offer courses that are sort of serious, and then we offer courses that are fun, and we have some hands-on courses. So we have a real wide variety that we hope to appeals to a wide audience. But without further ado, I would like to hand it over to my colleague Jennifer from the Alzheimers Association, and I'll let her go ahead and introduce our speaker. And Jennifer, if there's any parameters around how you want people to interact with today's event, you go ahead and you just let us know.
Sure. Yeah. So good morning, everybody. I'm Jen Hoadley with the Alzheimer's Association. My role is Regional Manager of Southeastern Massachusetts. So I cover basically from Quincy all the way down to the Cape and the Islands and everything in between. So it's a large territory, made a little more manageable actually by the pandemic, being able to connect with people online. And I think that it's helped people to be able to attend some of our programs that maybe wouldn't have been able to before. Certainly there's a lot of people that we haven't been able to reach because for some people in person is best. So we are hoping to get back to in-person programs. We were for a little while, and then numbers went back up. So, but probably quite soon we'll start to see more in-person programs. So keep an eye out for that. But we do know that there is value on the online programs, so we're going to be continuing those as well. In the chat function, I will share some information. One is that we have a family conference coming up soon. It's March 4th and 5th, and there are 2 different days. One day is a focus more on people living with dementia and their care partners, and we're going to actually have a panel of people that will talk about what that feels like to live with dementia. And then the second day is more focused toward the caregivers. And we'll have a panel of caregivers talking about their journeys and kind of what they've learned along the way, what they wish they had known at the beginning, and all of that. So I'll put information about that in the chat function. We also are, if any of you have any personal connection to dementia and would be interested in sharing your story, we do have something on our website where we're asking people if they would like to. That can be shared either on our social media. Sometimes we will do like a media pitch to a newspaper or a news channel. So if you're interested, I will leave that information in there. And also, if you're interested, after the program today, if you're part of any church organizations, clubs, any community gatherings that you are part of, if you're interested in having us come and do a program, I can put my email in the chat for you to be able to reach out about scheduling that. And as Jen had mentioned, all of our programs and services are at no cost. So if a host, it would just be helping us to gather people there and have a place. And then this program today, our Know the 10 Warning Signs. I like to say this in the beginning that throughout you may relate to some of these warning signs. I think we all do from time to time. It's really if it's getting in the way of your ability to live your day-to-day life. And for some people who have dementia, they're not always, some people have the awareness that yes, this is creating problems, and other people, the dementia actually gets in the way from being able to identify that. They may just feel like, oh, I forget things from time to time. And it may be an observer outside of that person that notices something's going on. So the best bet is to chat with your doctor and figure out what's going on. If you're not sure that your doctor is really responsive, we have a list of physicians and neurologists that we can help get you in touch with. So I will put our helpline number. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There is no question probably that we have not been asked. So even if you're not sure what your question is, call and we help you get to the bottom of that. So I'll put all that information in the chat. And I'm going to turn it over to our presenter, Craig. And Craig, I'll let you just give like an overview of who you are and what brought you to this. And I'll let you take it away.
Thank you, Jen. Good morning, everyone. So I'm Craig Tata. I am one of the community educators for the association, which is one of the volunteer roles. If you're interested in doing something similar, of course, also again, reach out to Jen and she'll help you get going. Or actually, since it's a Zoom, you could be anywhere, reach out to whoever's at your local chapter and they'll help you get going. I actually got into it after watching, I had a great aunt with, well, I'm not actually sure if she had Alzheimer's, but it was definitely dementia. And watching the effect it had on my mother, who was the primary caregiver, it made it clear that this whole area needs a lot more education, a lot more understanding, a lot more development. And so it seemed reasonable for me to, this seemed a reasonable way for me to proceed and help along that cause. So as has already been said, it's the Alzheimers Association that's providing the presentation of the 10 warning signs. It's designed for people who are looking to learn more about the warning signs of Alzheimer's or other dementias, or people who have noticed changes in thinking, behavior, or in either themselves or others. So throughout the presentation, we're going to see a bunch of different videos as well. If you're having any trouble hearing the audio from that, or my own audio for that matter, please let us know so we can fix it early on. Also, if you have questions, and you probably will along the way, I would ask, there's a lot of content in here, I would ask that you either hold it to the end where we have time for questions, or put them into the chat and either Jen will answer them or we'll get to them at the appropriate time. So let's look at what we're going to discuss today once I share my screen. Okay, hopefully people can see my screen now. Good. So today's objectives are that we want to explore the most common warning signs of Alzheimer's and to help you be informed about what may be Alzheimer's or dementia versus what is a normal sign of aging. And by the end of today's program, our goal is to help you be able to describe the typical age-related memory, thinking, and behavior changes, recognize common warning signs of Alzheimer's and dementia, discuss the tips for approaching someone about memory concerns, explain the importance of early detection and benefits of diagnosis, identify possible tests and assessments from the diagnostic process, and name some of the resources available through the Alzheimer's Association. Don't worry, you won't have a test on it later. So let's meet the Garcias. Throughout this presentation, we're going to periodically check in with the Garcias, who are a fictional family that we have made for the purpose of demonstrating some of these points. And we'll follow along as Mary's daughters discuss their mother's memory changes and take actions to find the cause. It's important to note, though, that this experience may be common to many people suffering from Alzheimer's or dementia, but it's not the exact experience for everyone, and the situations will vary from person to person. So we have Mary. She's a 73-year-old widow who lives alone, a retired teacher who's always meticulously cared for her home. And her daughter has recently noticed that the laundry's been piling up and the mail and newspapers are scattered around the house. We have Lydia, who's the eldest of Mary's two daughters, who lives a few miles away and visits her mother frequently. And we have Patricia, who lives in another state and works long hours, so she's unable to visit her mother frequently. But she does communicate with both Mary and Lydia frequently via the phone and text. Lydia is concerned about her mother's noticeable lack of tidiness and that she's continuously losing things. So she reaches out to Patricia. Worried about Mom, she keeps losing things and the house is a mess. That's probably normal to get a little forgetful with age. It's so unlike her, should we worry? Well, let's reach out to our old neighbor, Dr. Salway. Now, before we reach out to Dr. Salway, I should point out that although this is a fictional scenario, Dr. Stephen Salway is actually a real MD who's been recognized as a leader in a leading expert in the areas of aging, Alzheimer's disease, and other memory disorders.
As we get older, cognitive problems become more noticeable for almost everybody, and it can vary from person to person. Typically with age, people have trouble coming up with the word they want right when they want it. They have trouble remembering names and they don't think quite as quickly. What's more concerning, or what might be the beginning of a memory problem, is people have a lot of trouble coming up with words or names, and it's happening more frequently, and the words or names don't necessarily come to them later. And then they start misplacing things, but not just once in a while, because we all misplace things, but more often. And it begins to interfere day to day. That should be a warning sign for people that this might be the beginning of a memory problem.
So we're all here today to learn more about dementia and Alzheimer's and identify common warning signs of the disease. You may have heard the terms dementia and Alzheimer's used interchangeably, and they are related, but there are significant differences between the two. First, Dr. Heather Snyder will explain a bit about what dementia actually is.
Dementia is the umbrella term for an individual's changes in memory, thinking, or reasoning. There are many possible causes of dementia, and Alzheimer's is the most common cause. Other causes of dementia are vascular dementia, which is marked by changes in the blood flow and the blood vessels in the brain. Dementia with Lewy bodies, identified by specific brain changes throughout the brain that include the buildup of a protein known as alpha-synuclein. And frontal temporal dementia, which is marked by brain cell loss in the front sections of the brain or the frontal lobe. Each type of dementia may have distinct characteristics to cause specific behaviors in the individual, but there is also some overlap in behaviors among the types of dementia.
So Alzheimer's is the most common form of dementia and accounts for more than 80% of all cases. Next, let's listen to Dr. Dean Hartley, who's going to explain what the disease is and what it looks like.
More than 100 years ago, Dr. Alice Alzheimer's described specific changes in the brain, what we call the formation of plaques and tangles. Now, Alzheimer's is a progressive brain disease that's marked by these key changes and is thought to impact memory, thinking, and behavior. The brain has three main parts: the cerebrum, the cerebellum, and the brainstem. Each one plays a role in how the body functions. The cerebrum fills up most of your skull. It is part of the brain most involved in remembering, problem solving, thinking, and even feelings. There are about 100 billion nerve cells or neurons throughout the brain that transmit messages in order for us to create memories, feelings, and thoughts. Alzheimer's disease causes nerve cells to die, which leads to the brain tissue loss, or what we call shrinkage, and causes loss of function and communication between cells. These changes can cause the symptoms of Alzheimer's disease, such as memory loss, problems with thinking, planning, behavioral issues, and even at the end stages, problems with swallowing.
And lastly, let's listen to Ruth Drew, who's the Director of Information and Support Services at the Alzheimer's Association, about the importance of recognizing the warning signs of Alzheimer's.
It's important to know what the warning signs of Alzheimer's are and to be on the lookout. We know that we change over time, and the warning signs of Alzheimer's can be warning signs of a number of things, but when you see those in yourself or in someone you care about, it's important to check it out, to consult with a doctor, to find out what you're dealing with.
So as Ruth said, it's important to know what the warning signs are and to be on the lookout for these marked changes. The Alzheimer's Association, as a leader in the area, has developed a list of 10 warning signs to help people understand the difference between normal aging and common signs of possible dementia. You should also note that this list is intended to be a tool to help identify unusual changes in a person's memory, thinking, or behaviors, but it is not a diagnosis of Alzheimer's or dementia. These are simply the most common examples of the changes experienced. Individuals may experience one, all, some of these signs and in different amounts. So let's review each of them and see what a typical age-related change might be. First is memory loss that disrupts daily life. One of the most common signs of Alzheimer's, especially early on, is forgetting recently learned information. Others including forgetting important dates or events, or repeatedly asking the same question and increasingly relying on memory aids or leaning on others for things or tasks they once handled on their own. A typical age-related change, however, is sometimes forgetting information but then remembering it later. Two, challenges in planning or problem solving. Some people may experience new difficulties in executive functioning, including developing or following a plan or difficulty concentrating. Conversely, a more typical age-related change is making occasional errors when managing bills or household finances. Let's hear from John, who's living with dementia with Lewy bodies, about how he experienced this early warning sign.
I was probably spending 4 to 5 times more time preparing for something than I did, say, 5 or 10 years ago. Because of the, I would lose my thought, I'd lose my focus, I'd get anxious, I wouldn't get to sleep. I was thinking this, I was in my sleep, I was thinking about what I was anxious about, which was I was trying to remember, which was I was trying to prepare, which I was trying to do. So it was really a vicious circle of, so I was able to control it a lot so that people wouldn't see things and there weren't things to be seen. It's what was disturbing me was what effort I had to put into to do the things I used to do more easily.
Number 3, difficulty completing familiar tasks. People living with dementia often find it hard to complete daily tasks that used to be managed with ease, such as driving to a familiar place, writing a grocery list, or remembering how to play a favorite game. Conversely, a typical age-related change would be occasionally needing help to use a microwave or remote. This could include also having trouble with new technologies that the person hasn't had the opportunity to engage with as frequently. Let's hear a little bit more about this from our association expert.
Some people have difficulty with math or with reading in a way that's unusual to them. And once again, this is a change in that person. So for example, we all know somebody who was never able to balance their checkbook, right? So that wouldn't be a warning sign for them. But if somebody who always balanced their checkbook to the penny suddenly was paying bills, the same bill over and over, and not able to balance their finances, well, that would be a sign for them.
Number 4, confusion with time or place. An individual living with Alzheimer's or another dementia may lose track of dates, seasons, or the passage of time. They may have trouble understanding something if it's not currently happening, or become confused about where they are or how they got there. This can become more dramatic or profound in the middle and later stages. A more typical age-related change could be getting confused about what day it is or when a scheduled appointment is, but then figuring it out later. Number 5, trouble understanding visual images and spatial relationships. Some individuals with Alzheimer's or another dementia may experience vision problems, which can lead to difficulty with balance, trouble reading, and problems judging distance and determining color and contrast, which can all impact driving or navigating the environment around them. Excuse me. Vision changes, such as cataracts, are a more typical age-related change. It's important to notice that this sign shows that these changes are not just about memory. It's important to think about all the other ways someone's daily life may be impacted by any of these changes. And our experts will explain more. Let's take a look.
Alzheimer's disease is not just a disease of memory. It can affect other things too. It can affect the way that we perceive what we see. So sometimes somebody in the early stages of Alzheimer's might go to the eye doctor because they're having trouble seeing, and in fact their vision is just fine, but the way they're perceiving what they're seeing may be difficult.
Number 6, new problems with words in speaking or writing. So individuals may have trouble following or joining a conversation, or stop in the middle of a conversation and then forget what they were talking about and then continuously repeat themselves. They might also struggle with finding the right word or calling things by the wrong name. They may start using more descriptive terms to talk about something rather than the actual item. A normal age-related change, however, would be occasionally having trouble finding the right word. Let's hear from Phil, who's living with Alzheimer's, about this warning sign.
The other thing that I've increasingly been struggling with are words, which I've dealt with words my entire life, you know, as an avid reader, as a reporter, as a writer. I struggle with them now.
Number 7, misplacing things and losing the ability to retrace steps. So this sign often causes a lot of concern in people. So just to be clear, this is not about just losing your keys on a cake. This is misplacing things from time to time, but then being able to retrace your steps to find them is a normal age-related change. A person with Alzheimer's disease, however, might lose things and then not be able to recall when it was last seen or identify the location where it was placed. Or he or she may put things in unusual places, like putting shoes in the freezer. Because of the lack of executive function and awareness, the person may grow increasingly suspicious of others and start accusing others of stealing, and then do so more frequently over time. Let's hear from Ruth Drew again about this one.
So some people wonder if, if they lose their keys or their glasses or their purse, is that a sign of Alzheimer's? And one thing that I would say about that is, for most of us, we might misplace something, but then if we retrace our steps, we can usually find it. We can usually remember. For a person with Alzheimer's, sometimes they're not able to retrace their steps. Sometimes that memory is just gone. And so when they do find their keys next to the phone because they got interrupted by a phone call when they were coming in, they set their keys down in an unusual space, so there they are next to the phone. If that happened to you or me, we'd probably remember, oh yeah, the phone was ringing when I came in the door. I put down my keys. The person with Alzheimer's might not remember. They might wonder who's moving their keys around because they never put their keys by the phone. So that's just a little bit of a difference in some of the dynamics with losing things in Alzheimer's.
Number 8, excuse me. Number 8, decreased or poor judgment. Individuals may experience changes in judgment or decision-making, such as using poor judgment when dealing with money or paying less attention to hygiene and grooming. This can be especially common in individuals who live alone. Making a bad decision once in a while, such as forgetting to get an oil change, is more typical of the age-related change. Let's hear from Teresa on this one.
The way I kept my house, I wouldn't say I was OCD, but pretty close to it. And all of a sudden, everything was okay with me. It's like, oh, it's a pile, I'm tired. So my dining room table usually looked like it was someone's office, because I always would say I would do it tomorrow. And then my bedroom, as far as clothing, I would just put it in a corner, put it in a chair. And all of this is just, I wouldn't say it looked like I was a pet wreck, but really I was, because I never threw anything away. I always would say, I'll get to it, but I never did get to it. So just the way of my standard of living, it was actually decreasing.
Number 9, withdrawal from work or social activities. As we age, it's normal to feel uninterested by family or social engagements at times. However, someone who's experiencing dementia-related changes may start to lose their ability to hold or follow a conversation, and as a result, begin withdrawing from social encounters or hobbies. They may lose the confidence to engage in that way. Listen to Dr. Soloway a bit.
One of the most common changes, and early on, is the person's comfort zone shrinks a little bit, and then that gets worse throughout the course of the illness. So they're less comfortable going out, they're less motivated to do things than they were in the past. So there's some change in day-to-day functioning that way. I think people also lose confidence in their cognitive abilities, because they may not recognize someone or know their name or find the right word, and they'll feel awkward, and they don't want people to notice that, so they feel more comfortable at home or in situations with family where they're very, very comfortable with that wouldn't concern them. So people tend to withdraw a little bit and be less outgoing. That's can be one of the early signs of Alzheimer's.
And number 10, changes in mood and personality. Individuals with Alzheimer's or other dementia may become confused, suspicious, depressed, fearful, or anxious. They might get easily upset at home or when out of their comfort zone. As we age, however, it's normal to develop very specific ways of doing things and then becoming upset or irritable when our routine is disrupted. Someone with Alzheimer's or dementia may become fearful, angry, or easily frustrated, which is something that should be addressed. Dr. Soloway will share more on that.
Another early sign of Alzheimer's or dementia is subtle changes in behavior. So all of a sudden, the family may notice the person is more easily irritated, or more impatient, or a little moody, or have a shorter fuse, or more anxious. Now, there's lots of things that can cause that, but often that can be an early symptom of Alzheimer's or go along with the early symptoms of memory loss.
Let's check in with the Garcias again. As we talked about earlier, Mary's daughters are concerned about the changes they're observing in their mom. They want to know when it's time to see a doctor about the changes they've witnessed. Let's take a look at that conversation. Did you look at the warning signs info I sent? I did, but still don't know. Moms show a couple of signs, but not all the time. How do we know if it's serious enough to see a doctor? Let's check with Dr. Soloway.
Memory is not all or none, especially when there are early symptoms or signs. So on a good day, people might function very well and not really no one notices there's a memory problem. But on other days, especially if they're tired, then things become more noticeable. So memory is variable. It's not all or none. And then there are different type of symptoms that develop for each person. So some people may have trouble with language, may have trouble with organizing themselves, may have trouble navigating while driving, and other people don't have the same symptoms. So you don't have to have every symptom of Alzheimer's to be concerned. And I think the most important thing is determining what has changed from that person's normal level of functioning. And usually people have a pretty keen sense of, what they can normally do well. And then when either they or the family notice that there has been some change from that usual pattern of functioning, that should be a warning sign to people, but they don't have to check off all the boxes.
So Dr. Salloway gave us a great recap there. It's important to remember that these are warning signs, and they're intended to be a guide to help identify problems in memory, thinking, or behavior that may be related to Alzheimer's or another dementia. And individuals may experience one, all, or just some of these signs, and in varying degrees, and in numerous or single occurrences. They do not have to experience them all for there to be a concern. It's important to discuss any changes in memory, thinking, or behavior with either yourself or someone else with a doctor. Our next topic is early detection. It's key that we pay attention to what's going on with our own cognitive health and not to dismiss any changes that we may be experiencing as normal aging, as well as that if it's in others around us. Any change that's unusual for your level of functioning or that of someone around you is a cause for concern. Many times, family and friends are the first to notice changes in someone's memory, behavior, or abilities. Excuse me again. In this module, we'll discuss why it's critical to address any observed changes early and seek answers from a medical professional.
I was so adamant about what was happening to Daryl. I wasn't sure. I didn't know. And this wasn't the person that I know. This wasn't the person. Daryl was my husband was very, he always had to be building or designing or working with his hands. And it was getting to the point where he wasn't, and he was becoming very frustrated when he was forgetting to do things or go places.
So that video was not supposed to play automatically on this change. So that was Mary. She's actually the caregiver of a husband who had Alzheimer's and was among the first to notice it. But sometimes the person who's exhibiting the symptoms isn't aware or may not have that insight to know they're experiencing changes. And that's why having that outside perspective is critical. And it's important for individuals, especially who live alone or are far from family and friends. And Dr. Salloway will discuss that a little bit more.
It's a very interesting phenomena that people who have memory problems are often less aware of it than family members or their friends who know them well. One of the reasons for that is our ability to monitor ourselves, which is an important part of brain function, decreases when we start having memory problems. Not in everybody, but commonly, and more than half the people with memory problems. And so the person is just not keeping track of the trouble they're having day to day. But the family members are, paying attention. If they're paying attention, they see, boy, this is starting to happen a lot, and the person's not aware of it. So the family's more aware, and they may talk to their loved one about it, and they say, I've noticed you've been repeating yourself. And they say, I'm not repeating myself. And that could either be due to the fact that they're not aware of it, or they may not want to acknowledge it.
So if you continue to observe these changes, it's critical that you plan to take the next step and have a conversation with the person or others close to him or her about what you've noticed. This can be difficult or uncomfortable conversation to have. Therefore, the Alzheimer's Association also developed a roadmap of 10 helpful steps to help making addressing concerns less daunting and more productive. Let's take a look at those. Start by assessing the situation. What changes in memory, thinking, or behaving do you see? What is the person doing or not doing that's actually causing you to be concerned? Second, what else is going on? Various conditions can cause changes in memory, thinking, and behavior. Are there other health or lifestyle issues that could be contributing to these changes, such as stress, diabetes, changes in medication? Step 3, learn about the signs and benefits of early diagnosis. You're already taking that step just by being here. Do you notice any of these signs in the person you're concerned about? Step 4, has anyone else noticed the changes? Talk with your family and friends. What, if anything, have they noticed? Next, prepare to have a conversation. Who should be the one to discuss the concerns with the person that you're concerned about? It could be you, or a trusted family member, or a friend, or some combination. It's usually best to speak one-on-one so that the person doesn't feel threatened or ambushed, but use what you know about the person to judge what approach you think is going to work best. What is the best time and place to have the conversation? When and where should it be held? It's important to have the conversation as soon as possible, but in addition to identifying a date and time, you should also consider where that person is going to feel most comfortable. What will you or the person who's going to have the conversation actually say? You might want to build out something of a script, considering the following questions. I've noticed some change in you and I'm concerned. Have you noticed that? Are you worried? Or how have you been feeling lately? You haven't really seemed like yourself. Or I noticed that you did something very specific and it worried me. Has anything else like that happened? 8, offer to go with the person to the doctor. Ask the person to see a doctor and offer to accompany them. Try using encouraging words like, there are lots of things that could be causing this. Let's see if the doctor can help us figure out what's going on. Or the sooner we know what's causing these problems, the sooner we can address them. Or I just think it would give us both peace of mind if we talk to a doctor. If needed, have multiple conversations. Don't be discouraged if the first conversation is not as successful as you'd hoped. Write down the notes about how it went so that you compare more for any future conversations. But don't dismiss those changes simply because the person was reluctant to address them or that conversation didn't go the way you planned it. Next, reach out for support. You can turn to the Alzheimers Association and by calling our free 24/7 help desk to talk with master's level clinicians who can provide reliable support and information, including about how to have this conversation. And then finally, see a doctor. Most people will address concerns about memory, thinking, and behavior with their primary care physician first. However, in some cases, the primary care physician may refer the person to a specialist for further evaluation. Examples of the specialists they might refer you to include geriatricians who have additional training in medical care for diseases and conditions common among older adults, generally those over 65. Neurologists who specialize in diseases of the brain and the nervous system. Though it's important to note that not all neurologists specialize in Alzheimer's or other dementias. Neuropsychologists who can assess, diagnose, and treat psychological disorders associated with brain-based conditions. Psychiatrists who specialize in disorders that affect mood or the way the mind works. And psychologists who have specialized training in memory and other mental, especially in testing memory and other mental functions. So now we know what signs to look for and how to approach the conversation. Let's discuss the benefits of early detection.
There are a number of benefits in early detection of Alzheimer's. For one thing, a person is able to have a voice in what happens next. They can make plans. They can live life more on their own terms. They can also make plans for the future, financial plans, care plans. They can let people know what they want, which can be a real gift later on. It also allows time for families to make plans and to make decisions about who can do what and figure out care and those kinds of issues. Also, the treatments that are available for Alzheimer's don't cure Alzheimer's. They don't slow down the disease, but they do help with symptoms. And it seems as though they tend to work better the earlier a person is able to use those. So that can help too. Some people are interested in clinical trials. Clinical trials allow people to have access to treatments that aren't available yet. And for some people, that can be a really important thing to pursue.
So paying attention to changes noticed in people, especially regarding memory, thinking, and behavior, is important for early detection. If you do observe unusual behaviors or occurrences, take action by having the conversation about what you've observed. Consider using the 10 steps approach to memory concerns that we've already outlined as a guide for that conversation, but customize it so that you're approaching the person in the most supportive way possible. There are a number of benefits to early detection, such as planning for the future, access to treatments for symptoms, and participation in clinical studies. Now let's take a look at what might be involved in the medical process to determine the cause of symptoms. So I may have fibbed a bit earlier when I said no test. So let's take a quick test of your knowledge here. Eventually, it will ask you who here believes that there's currently no way to diagnose Alzheimer's or dementia. Okay, so the answer is false. Contrary to an outdated belief that an Alzheimer's diagnosis can be made only at autopsy, there are actually a number of assessments and tests that make it possible for healthcare professionals to diagnose Alzheimer's and dementia with a high degree of certainty. However, determining the cause of dementia can sometimes be more difficult. Here we're going to explore possible steps of the diagnostic process. Keep in mind as we review these steps that not everyone may be asked to undergo each one of these by their doctor. So the assessments may include a medical history, physical exam, screen for depression, or interview with close companions. Various tests might include the laboratory tests, mental cognitive status tests, and various types of brain imaging. Mary's daughters are preparing for answers about their mom's changes in behavior. And they wonder, do dementia-like symptoms always result in a diagnosis of Alzheimer's or another dementia? Appointment's been going well, mom's handling them okay. Think it's really dementia? Guess we won't know until we get a diagnosis, but let's ask Dr. Soloway if it could possibly be anything else.
Someone could have high blood pressure that's out of control, or they might have a thyroid condition that's not regulated, or diabetes that's not right, or on a medication that actually can cause memory loss. Drinking too much alcohol can make memory worse. So there are a lot of factors that go into cognitive difficulty with aging that some of them can be remedied. And so we want to do everything we can to improve cognitive ability and quality of life.
So let's review. The diagnostic process will vary from person to person, depending on an individual's specific situation and what the doctor feels is the right course of action for that person. The diagnosis may be something other than Alzheimer's or another dementia, which is why it's important to investigate the cause of the symptoms. The stigma and misconceptions about Alzheimer's, like nothing can be done, can deter some people from seeking a diagnosis. Getting more information and some support is also a critical next step. Let's learn a little bit more about what the Alzheimer's Association offers. So if the diagnosis is Alzheimer's, What's next? Let's see what Mary's daughters, Lydia and Patricia, do. I called, but got your voicemail. How'd it go? Call you later, but when I get home, the diagnosis is early stage. I don't know. What do we do now? Doc said the Alzheimer's Association offers free resources. Some even help people live well with the disease. We'll call soon, but left the office with some hope. The Alzheimer's Association is in communities across the country, providing direct service to individuals and families facing the disease. So the mission of the Alzheimer's Association is to eliminate Alzheimer's disease through the advancement of research, to provide an enhanced care for the support of all affected, and to reduce the risk of dementia through the promotion of brain health. Our vision is a world without Alzheimer's disease. If you're concerned, the association is available wherever and whenever you need reliable information and support. 3 of our key resources that can connect you to information and support include our free 24/7 helpline, where you can call us at 800-272-3900 anytime, day or night, to receive information and support.
I've had a couple of phone calls that I've been able to make in to the call center. When I've had a couple of quick questions that I wanted to ask. You know, there's been a couple of nights, 2 o'clock in the morning, you have questions, you have anxieties, and I was struggling dealing with them, and it's amazing. It was one of the best things I ever did, was keeping the call center on my favorites now. Just to know that there's somebody you can call who is aware of what you're going through.
So the helpline will provide you with access to highly trained, knowledgeable staff who can help with education, decision-making support, crisis assistance, resource identification. It has master's level clinicians who are available around the clock to provide in-depth care consultations, a free of charge care navigation service offered to families at any stage of the disease, and the help is available in more than 200 languages. The next place you can go is alz.org, the Alzheimer's Association website. Very often that's going to be the first stop for an individual following the diagnosis of Alzheimer's or another dementia. And it includes sections specifically for people living with the disease and for caregivers.
When I went to the Alzheimer's Association website, which is alz.org, there I was trying to find out more about what was Alzheimer's, what really is this disease, what is younger onset Alzheimer's, what is dementia, is there a cure, how long has this been around, how many people are affected by this, where can I go for resources, where can I go for help, what do I do with this? How can I handle this? Is there more people like me out there? Is there someone that I can talk to if I need to? And there I found the support line that's 24 hours a day. And there I found where I can go for workshops, where I can go and read things and postings that people have done, where I can find out what events is happening in the Alzheimer's Association, where I can see how it's affecting people around the globe.
And we also have a community resource finder, which has a wealth of community-based resources available in your area, including long-term care and community-based services, local association offices. They're offering a program, support services, and Tom can tell a bit about that.
Since I've been diagnosed with dementia, the one place that I know I can go to for assistance and help and support is to the Alzheimer's Association. There are people there that I know by name that I can contact if I'm having a difficult time or if I'm struggling to find some resource, that they will provide that to me.
Now that we've taken a basic look at Alzheimer's disease and what resources are available, let's talk about how you can take action. First off, you can volunteer. Thank you. Whether you can spare a few hours a week or make more significant time commitment, consider volunteering with the Alzheimer's Association. Numerous opportunities are available, including becoming a community educator like me, or joining your local walk planning committee. And you would just visit alz.org/volunteer, /volunteer for that, to learn more about that. There's advocacy. You can become an Alzheimer's Association advocate and speak out on behalf of the needs and the rights of those facing Alzheimer's disease. For that, it's alzimpact.org. You can participate in Trial Match. Everyone can help advance Alzheimer's research by participating in clinical trials. Get started with Alzheimer's Association Trial Match, which is a free, easy to use clinical studies matching service. And for that, it's alz.org/trial match. The Walk to End Alzheimer's. You can form or join a team for the Alzheimer's Association Walk to End Alzheimer's and raise critical funds and awareness. It's held annually in more than 600 communities nationwide. The Walk to End Alzheimer's is the world's largest fundraiser for Alzheimer's care, support, and research. And you can see more about that at alz.org/walk. And finally, there's the longest day. On the longest day, the day with the most sunlight, or the summer solstice, raise funds and awareness for the care, support, and research efforts of the Alzheimer's Association through an event of your choice. You can find more about that at alz.org/the-longest-day. And that brings us to question time. If you have questions, this would be the time for you to ask them. If there's anything you're unclear about, of course, if you have questions and you don't remember them now, there's always the option to reach out to the association via the helpline or any of the other resources that we just went through.
Thank you so much, Craig. This was so informative, so much great information in a way that felt approachable. I think I've shared this before with most of the folks in the group, but my mother had Alzheimer's and she passed away in 2015. So I always find this so affirming to, my own personal experience and journey. And it doesn't help that I have a sister and, there was the woman in the example, the Garcias, it was like a single woman living alone with 2 daughters. And that was my exact experience. So really informative and helpful, even as I reflect on that experience. But yeah, feel free to either unmute yourself and ask a question or put your question in the chat. We'll go ahead and if anyone has a question, we can get started now.
So there is a question here about getting requests for donations for Alzheimer's for a few different places, a few different addresses. Does it all go to the same place for research? So it depends. There's actually a few organizations, there's several different organizations out there. I know some are specifically only for research. So I can't really speak too much about what the other organizations do, but for the Alzheimer's Association, we do fund research, but we also, a lot of the funding goes to doing educational programs, helping with outreach, all of the various arms of what we do. We have support groups, we have our helpline, and all of that comes at no cost because of donations. So while some of it does go to research, quite a big chunk goes to research actually, some of it also does go to funding the programs and services that we offer for people who are, while we're waiting for a cure, people still need help. So we're there to help them. And there was another question about, are they looking for help on the helpline? Years ago, I used to volunteer for the Eastern Massachusetts chapter. Right now, I'm not entirely sure that they're looking for help on the helpline. Your best bet is to actually just call the helpline and you can ask about what volunteer positions are available. Mostly though, I think what we're looking for is people in the community, embedded in the communities to help. So whether it's offering an education program like today, or staffing a table at a health fair. We also have people that are community representatives or support group facilitators as well. Or even getting involved in the planning of our fundraising events like the Walk to End Alzheimer's and the Longest Day. And if you're interested, I saw some people were taking notes while we were doing this program today. If you call our helpline, we do have a brochure that just lists all the warning signs. So if there's somebody you have in mind that you wanted to talk to about this, you could just, get that brochure mailed to you. And then that may be helpful to go over some of the talking points with them. And that number, I'll put that in the chat again, but it's 800-272-3900. And I put it also in the chat that we are called the Alzheimer's Association, but we do help people of many different types of dementia. It doesn't matter whether you have a diagnosis or don't have a diagnosis. We have, students call sometimes that are working on a project about Alzheimer's and dementia, and it doesn't matter. Just call and we help you get to the bottom of what it is that you're looking for. So I just wanted to give you a little overview on that.
Can I just add about the donation piece? I would just say, of course, always do your due diligence. There are a lot of unfortunate situations where organizations sort of prey upon older adults. And so just be very careful with any organization that you're giving your hard-earned money to. Do your research to make sure that it's a legitimate organization and that the money is going to what you want the money to go to.
And our main office, if you were looking at the address, our main office for the Massachusetts, New Hampshire chapter is out of Waltham, but we also have our headquarters out of Chicago. We are a national organization, so but if you're in doubt, call the helpline and we can help verify whether that came from us or not. There's a question here about of the 10 signs discussed, are there certain specific indicators to specify Alzheimer's versus common dementia? So Alzheimer's so back to that slide where it talked about dementia versus Alzheimer's. So dementia is an umbrella term that really just acknowledges that somebody's having a decline in their cognitive functioning that's going to indicate changes with their behaviors, thinking, memory, that type of thing. It's not really telling you why, though. Alzheimer's is one reason why. So there are varying reasons why somebody might experience the dementia. So brain scans can help determine what's going on. So they can look and say, okay, is this because of a stroke, because of something that had occurred in the brain, or is this the plaques, the beta amyloid plaques are building up, which is the hallmark of Alzheimer's disease. There are also lumbar punctures, like a spinal tap, that they can do to see if those the beta amyloid plaques are in the fluid. And there are some other things too. Right now in the research pipeline, they are hoping for a blood test down the line, which would make things a lot easier for everybody. You get your cholesterol checked and you can get checked for Alzheimer's as well. But right now that's not anything that's come to fruition for the general public or anything. It's just still in the phases of research, but we're very hopeful because I think the more this becomes normalized to get checked and learn about this and talk about it. I don't know for sure, but I'm going to guess that most people in this Zoom they know somebody who's been impacted by dementia, whether it's your neighbor or a family member, but I see people nodding, and it's not super uncommon that this happens, but people don't talk about it. And that's got to change. I think that's going to make a difference for people being able to say, yeah, that that's my life right now too. I actually had a family that came in for, we call it a care consultation, and it's a little bit extra attention, I suppose, that maybe starts with the helpline call, but then we realize, okay, they don't need just like a list of resources. They need a little more coaching around their situation, and you know, let's figure out a plan of action. So that's what a care consultation is, and also no cost for that. It's just a better look at your situation, and it can involve many different people. And in any case, I had a family come in, and they were talking about how you know, the gentleman was living with dementia, and he was starting to, things were slipping, but he was still holding things together for the most part. He was retired, and he enjoyed walking around the neighborhood. And he mentioned that he had, you know, walked down the street one day and happened to stop at his neighbor's fence to chat with him about his flowers in his yard looking good. And somehow the conversation went to, oh yeah, if I don't remember your name, it's because I have dementia. And the other man looked at him and was like, so do I. And they're neighbors. And it was just like, oh my gosh, thank goodness they found each other. You know, they can have that frank conversation with each other and not feel so alone, because it is a lonely disease if you make it that way. But there are so many other people that are dealing with this, that you can build a community. And that's what we're here to do, is try to help foster that a bit. So if you are dealing with this and you feel alone, reach out. We can help connect you to other people that are dealing with this, whether it's through a support group. We actually have chat rooms embedded into our website as well. So that can be helpful to just talk with people, or even just read what other people are asking. That can be helpful too. Does anybody else have any questions at all?
No, I don't see any other ones coming through. Jennifer, as always, thank you so much. I was thinking as Craig was talking today that we should talk offline about scheduling some upcoming workshops. We usually do a few like right as our semester is starting. So folks can look for more information about that. The good thing is if you're here, that means you're on our mailing list. So you'll get emails from us about upcoming events in partnership with the Alzheimer's Association, Massachusetts and Hampshire Chapter. Craig, thank you so much for volunteering to be here today and doing such an efficient, great job with the presentation. Big round of applause for Craig. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate it. And Jennifer, thank you to you, to all the people that are here. I hope you have a wonderful day. And I hope to see you soon in a senior college event or class. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you all.